Hi, I'm Ken Gutman, Superintendent of the Walled Lake Consolidated School District. Terry Less, our Assistant Superintendent for Business Services, and I have prepared this short video to give you a thorough understanding of the upcoming Walled Lake Schools millage renewal. Up front, I would like to address the fact that you've seen ballot issues on the last two November elections and now again in the 2014 November election. I'd like to explain the timing and circumstances of these elections. In November of 2012, the community overwhelmingly approved the renewal of the half-mil levy for the district building and site sinking fund to keep our schools and facilities in good repair. In November of 2013, Walled Lake Schools responded to parents and community concerns about safety standards with a safety, security, and technology bond. Again, our community approved this bond. On behalf of the Board of Education, we're humbled, we're grateful, and we're sincerely appreciative of the support of our community on these critical funding efforts to keep our schools in good repair, to keep our students, staff, and community safe, and to provide our children and staff with interactive technology for learning. Now, in November of 2014, the timing is such that we must renew our 18 mil non-homestead and our 3.9 mil hold harmless. Both are operating millages because they will expire before the next general election. If you remember nothing else from this video, the most important aspect is that this millage is not an increase. It is the same operating millage with which you have graciously supported the schools since it was first levied in 1995 after Proposal A. Mrs. Less, thank you for joining me. Can you tell our community the financial impact of this millage?
The 18 mil non-homestead millage represents $23 million, and the 3.9 mil hold harmless renewal millage represents $7 million of the district's budget. This is $30 million of the district's $154 million budget, or 20% of the district's total budget. This is the same millage our community has been supporting since 1995. It was renewed for 10 years in 2005.
So why does every district in the state have to levy the same millage?
Every district in the state is required to levy, with voter approval, 18 mills on all non-homestead properties, generally categorized as businesses, in order to receive full state funding under Proposal A.
Will you please explain the hold harmless portion of this millage?
The levy on homestead properties, generally categorized as residential property, is the hold harmless portion. It is capped at the amount necessary to ensure that the district's combined state and local revenue equals the per pupil amount allowed under the state's funding system. Walled Lake receives $8,245 per student and can only collect $437 locally under the law to reach this amount. Mr. Gutman, it's important to note, although in 2005, Walled Lake was authorized to levy up to 3.9 mils on residential properties, the district has never had to levy the maximum, and in the 2014-15 school year, we will levy only 2.2, or almost half of the authorized amount.
So, Mrs. Less, what is the difference between operating budget, sinking fund, and bond dollars?
This millage is general operating budget monies, essentially the funds that allow us to operate our schools on a daily basis. General operating monies support our classrooms and all of the services that we offer to our children, families, and community. Sinking fund is a separate fund for building and site repairs and capital improvements. This fund allows us to keep our schools and facilities in good repair for everyone to use. Building and site sinking fund monies cannot be used for salaries, benefits, or general operating expenses. Bond dollars are specifically allocated monies for buildings and specific projects like our safety, security, and technology bond and the previous bonds that allowed the district to build its most recent buildings. Walled Lake Schools has an excellent track record in paying these bonds off before the life of the bond. Bonds are similar to mortgages.
How much would Walled Lake Schools lose if this were not to be a successful proposal?
Without this millage in place, the district would lose more than $30 million and the state would not make up the shortfall.
Mrs. Less, how much will this cost the homeowner?
On a $200,000 home, the continued assessment will be approximately $227 annually. Again, this is the same as the homeowners have paid, and also the levy for businesses will be the same.
We're certainly appreciative to have the support of the Lakes Area Chamber of Commerce and others in this millage renewal. Have I mentioned it's a renewal?
You did, Mr. Gutman, and I would like to add that this millage renewal represents 20% of the district's budget. 20% of the district's budget is $30 million.
Mrs. Less, thank you so much for helping me explain this important ballot issue. We at Walled Lake Schools pride ourselves on being fiscally responsible. As always, we take seriously the responsibility entrusted to us with the funding our community and state provide us to operate and maintain our schools and facilities. The election is Tuesday, November 4th, 2014. If you're not going to be in town on that date, you may obtain an absentee ballot from your local clerk. Residents must be registered to vote by October 6th to participate in this election. Once again, this millage is not an increase. It is a renewal of the general operating millage for Walled Lake schools. Thank you for voting on Tuesday, November 4th, 2014.